Good evening. I'd like to call this meeting of the Sterling Heights City Council to order. Please stand with me for the Pledge of Allegiance and remain standing for the invocation. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Dear God, please bless our elected officials. Grant them courage and wisdom to do what is right for all citizens. Amen.
Amen. Mrs. Riska, can we please have the roll call?
Mayor Taylor?
Here.
Mrs. Sarosky? Mrs. Koski?
Present.
Mr. Radke?
Present.
Mrs. Schmidt?
Present.
Mr. Yanes?
Here.
Mrs. Zarko?
Present.
Thank you, Council. We need approval of the agenda.
Mr. Mayor,
Mrs. Koski.
move to approve the agenda.
Support.
It's been moved and supported. Is there any discussion? No discussion. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. We are without our Mayor Pro Tem, Liz Sarowski, tonight. She had a death in the family, and so she is out of town dealing with that, and our condolences are with her, and along with our thoughts and prayers for her and her family at this time. Next item on our agenda tonight, though, is a report from our city manager, Mark Vanderpool. Mr. Vanderpool.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to begin by reminding everyone that the city will have a commemorative Patriot Day honoree or honoring event on September 11th with a ceremony recognizing first responders, which include our Sterling Heights firefighters and police officers. Both honor guards will be present at the ceremony, in addition to the chaplain for the police department, along with the mayor and the city council. So anyone in the community that would like to partake in this solemn event, again, it's on 9/11 next week, begins at 8:30. It'll be at Station 1, Fire Station 1, which is located on the corner of 17 Mile and Van Dyke. So again, that's next week. If you'd like more information, please see our website. And I've talked quite a bit about roads, and I'm sure everyone's sick of hearing the updates on roads. So I thought I'd talk about something a little more pleasant tonight, and that is sidewalks. I'd like to give everyone an update on our sidewalk program. This has been a very ambitious year for sidewalks, and we're nearing completion. I know it's very disruptive to the neighborhoods that we're in, but this kind of gives you a scope of the sidewalk program this year. These are all the roads that sidewalk is being replaced on or repaired. And if you look at the actual diagram, so it's from Dodge Park Road out to about Shaner, from 17 Mile south to Plumbrook. That entire area, you probably see all the barricades up. If you're a resident in that area, you know it's very disruptive. But we plan to finish up all the sidewalk in those areas in the next month. And it does make a dramatic improvement to neighborhoods when you see the before and after pictures. We do have an ambitious sidewalk program, and we try to keep up on repair and replacement for obvious safety reasons. And this is a picture of the before shot in this particular neighborhood. And you can see the disruption, and then some of the after shots, which do indeed dramatically improve the neighborhood. So this is the targeted area. Again, we'll be finishing it up in a month. And then we have a couple of scattered areas across the city that we'll be working on. But all this work will be finished up this summer. In total, there's just under 1,200 parcels that will be affected by our sidewalk program this year. And we're just about done with the first segment of it. In addition to repairing and replacing sidewalk that already exists, we also have what's called a gap program. That's where we install new sidewalk where there is not currently any sidewalk. And we did have an ambitious gap program planned for this year. However, the pricing came in very high for concrete, and we've been forced to rebid that over the winter months when we think we'll get better pricing. However, we will be completing this fall a major gap on 18 Mile Road between Van Dyke and Mound, which causes safety concerns. So that is the one gap program that will be completed this year. So we appreciate everyone's patience as we wrap up the sidewalk program this year. And Mayor, at the conclusion of tonight's agenda, I'm requesting that the City Council convene a closed session pursuant to Section 8H of the Open Meetings Act for council to consult with the city attorney regarding a confidential written legal opinion. And just one last comment. Councilwoman Deanna Koski asked me to comment on on a consent agenda item, which happens to be a really significant grant that the city received in the amount of $2 million. This program started in 2016, and it's called a SAW grant, which stands for Stormwater Asset Management and Wastewater Grant. You have to have an acronym for everything in government, so we refer to this as the SAW grant. And essentially what this grant has allowed us to do is clean out and televise every sanitary sewer line and storm sewer line in the city. Now, as you can imagine, we have hundreds and hundreds of miles of these infrastructure lines beneath our feet all over the city. And we have to develop an effective program to continue to maintain them, repair them, upgrade them, expand them, and so on as time goes on over the next 5, 10, 15 years. And this grant has allowed us to locate all of these structures across the city and geo-map them and digitize them so we have all the locations at our fingertips. And if there's ever a problem, a water main break or a sanitary sewer break, we have all the data that's necessary right at our fingertips. So it's been an ambitious program, a multi-year program. But the other thing this will allow us to do, in addition to keeping up with our infrastructure and having a good plan moving forward, it will allow us to detect any problem areas in the city. If there's a broken line, sometimes that can cause erosion and sinkholes and the like. So this gives us the ability to identify problems up front and take proactive measures. So what's on the agenda tonight is kind of the last phase of it, and that is developing the plan now that we have all the televising done and cleaning done and mapping done in terms of the repair, replacement, and improvement schedule. And the item on the consent agenda this evening is for $248,000 to develop that plan with an engineering consultant who we work closely with throughout this entire project. And thankfully, the grant covers 75% of that cost. So I wanted to provide an update on that consent agenda. And Mayor, that concludes my report.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Vanderpool. Next item on our agenda is a presentation. This is a swearing-in ceremony for a new Sterling Heights police officer. Presentation will be handled, as always, by our police chief, Chief Dale Wojciechowski. Chief?
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor Taylor, members of council, Mr. Vanderpool. Tonight, I'd like to present the newest addition to the Sterling Heights Police Department, Officer Sarmad Talia. And if you do recall the last name, we just hired a Talia a few months ago, but they are not related, spelled differently, so we now have two Talias on board. Sarmad goes by Sam. Sam's single, 25 years old, and I had Sam at the police academy last year, and I remember the very first break, he walked right up to me and he said, Chief, he said, Sterling Heights is my #1 spot. I want to work for your department more than any other place. What do I need to do? He's since had several job opportunities at 3 other cities, turned all 3 cities down waiting for this job. So again, it speaks volumes about what Sterling Heights' reputation is out there, and members of the law enforcement community, our young people in the academy, they want to work here. It's a great city. It's a safe city. We have a lot of opportunities, and this was Sam's first choice, and really his only choice. Sam was also a Sterling Heights Police Explorer here. Again, our junior police officer program, again, paying dividends. This is now several police officers we have hired from that program. It's vital. It's a pipeline to keep these kids interested in law enforcement. As nationwide, we see a decrease in the number of people applying to become a police officer. The Explorer program keeps them interested and invested, and Sam's a proud product of that program with Captain Hopper running it. Sarmad has an associate's degree from Macomb Community College. Sarmad also speaks Arabic and Chaldean, which we're very, very happy about. And Sarmad was actually born in Iraq, moved here when he was 6 years old. And as you can see, the entire audience is his family. So he is a Sterling Heights guy, born and raised. His entire family lives here. We could not be any happier. And with that, Sarmad, let's get you sworn in. I state your name.
I, Sarmat Talia,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and that of the state of Michigan,
and that of the state of Michigan,
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of police officer
and I will faithfully discharge the duties of police officer
in and for the city of Sterling Heights,
in and for the city of Sterling Heights,
and that I will strive to maintain the highest standards of that department
and that I will strive to maintain the highest standards of that department
to the best of my knowledge and ability.
to the best of my knowledge and ability.
Congratulations.
Thank you, Chief. It's an honor to be here. First and foremost, I'd like to thank my family and friends. I love you guys. Thank you for the support. You guys mean the world to me, especially Mom and Dad. Thank you for raising me to be the man I am today. You guys mean a lot to me. And my dad, Hazem Daoud, he's the hardest working man I know. I am blessed to have him, and thank you for getting me to this point, Dad. You're my role model, and I look up to you. Thank you so much. Next, I would like to thank the Sterling Heights Police Department and Captain Hopper for being my supervisor at the Explorers Program. I was with the Explorers Program for 4 to 5 years, and it was the best experience because that motivated me to become a Sterling Heights police officer even more. I grew up in this city. I went to Flynn Middle School. I graduated from Sterling Heights High School, and I wanted to pursue this career for a long time. And being with these officers, doing the ride-alongs, boot camps, and everything else made me want to pursue this career even more. And so it's an honor to be here. And so lastly, I would like to thank the City Council and Chief Wojciechowski. It's an honor to be here, and I am blessed to serve and protect the people of Sterling Heights. Thank you so much.
I'd just like to welcome all of council to come down and meet Sarmed, and again, thank you for your support and let us fill these positions and all the resources you give us.
Welcome. Congratulations. It's a pleasure
Yep.
to have you.
Welcome aboard, Sam. Congratulations. Great to have you.
Welcome aboard, Sam.
Welcome aboard. Be safe out there. Good job.
So much.
Okay, Chief, anything else? If not, I'll open it up to my colleagues. Anyone have anything to say? Mrs. Zarko?
You know, I usually don't say anything, but I have to tell you, you should be so proud of the support that you have for doing what you're doing. So that's a tribute to your character as well. So good luck, stay safe, and we're glad to have you in Sterling Heights.
Council, Mr. Radke?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just have to say, I'm so happy to have you aboard here in Sterling Heights. I mean, I think we really have set out to create one of the most diverse departments in the state that really represents the community we live in. And just your credentials, I mean, they're very impressive. I think you're going to have a long future here, and I'm proud to have you as our part of our department. Thank you so much.
Council, anyone else? Well, Sam, welcome aboard. Thank you for your lifelong commitment to the city of Sterling Heights. You've been here your whole life. Your family is here, and I think you're going to be here for a very long time. We are what we call a destination department, and I don't need to tell you that. I mean, it sounds like from your background and your biography, you knew that, and you want to be here. So we're blessed to have you. We're lucky to have you here. We support our police department here in the city of Sterling Heights. The residents here support our police department. We've got a very important police proposal up this November, and I'm sure all of your family, if everybody in your family votes for it, I think that takes care of it. So just tell them to get out and vote. And we'll be in good shape. So welcome aboard, Sam. It's great to have you. As my colleague said, stay safe. God bless. Welcome aboard. And one more big round of applause for Sam. So, Chief, do you want to keep him around and make him watch the whole council meeting, or dismiss him out so he can take some pictures and celebrate with his family? Thank you very much, and thank you all for being here and supporting him. Thank you. take just a second here, but we do have another agenda item coming up next. One agenda item, and that is the consent agenda. So is there anyone in the audience left who would like to speak on any item on tonight's consent agenda? No, you're fine. You're good. Do you want to say anything about the consent agenda? Okay, yes, sir, you in the back.
The consent agenda.
My name is Carl Nagorny. I live on William Drive. And I was here last October when the planning for the road project with Utica Road from 18 to Van Dyke was getting started in the planning stages. I was here when I first found out about that to advise council and the mayor that for pedestrian use along that stretch from 18 to Van Dyke, very dangerous. I advised council if with that road project that would done, if a sidewalk either side, straight stretch all the way through could be accomplished to protect safety of pedestrians. I noticed that the road project is done. There is no sidewalk straight through to away from the road to protect pedestrians, either walking or bicyclists. After it was done, I took the road myself on my bicycle. I seem very worried about that stretch. There's no complete sidewalk straight through, even under the bridge, there's nothing. Pedestrians, I'm sure, are very scared to go along that stretch who don't have a car or choose to walk or ride a bike. With me on a bicycle, it's a very scary part. When there's no sidewalk or people along the sidewalk, I have to be on the side of the road or in the road.
All right, sir, I'm going to cut you off, just not because I disagree with what you're saying, but because this is the consent agenda, so you're really supposed to be speaking about an item on the consent agenda.
The roads, or the sidewalks.
Okay. Which consent agenda item are you
Well,
addressing?
the sidewalk program,
That would be in.
would that consist or?
Yeah, that was just basically in the city manager's report. Look, so procedurally, you're just really not in order right now because you have to be talking about something on the consent agenda. But we've got it, so I don't want to, cut you off, but it'd be better to just wait till this item's over
Yes.
and then come back in like 2 more minutes, okay?
All right.
And then you can-
hearing impaired, so I didn't catch it real quick, sorry.
Okay, so just have a seat and I'll call you back up in a couple minutes and if you have anything more you want to add. Okay, staying on the consent agenda, anything else? Anyone else on the consent agenda? If not, council, we need a motion.
Mr. Mayor,
Mrs. Koski.
move to approve the consent agenda.
Support.
It's been moved and supported with no discussion. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. That completes that portion of our agenda. So this is a little bit strange to do this to you, but before I call him back up, Mr. Vanderpool, is there any, could you address what he was saying?
Thank you, Mayor. I think the gentleman was speaking a sidewalk along 18 Mile Road. Utica Road, okay, I apologize, Utica Road. That is a gap that we do hope to complete one day soon. There are some challenges with that sidewalk gap in various parts along Utica, and that's some of the ditch area and some of the right-of-way that we need to get, but we do have it in our plan to complete the gap. We just need to get some of the, as I mentioned, some of the right-of-way. We're probably a couple of years off from having it fully completed.
Okay, sir, do you want to come back up?
This is a communication from citizens now.
Yeah, we're on to communications from citizens now.
I know there's some stretches of sidewalk, but then it stops, and there's a majority of that whole stretch, there's no sidewalk either side. And so pedestrians, either bicyclists or on foot, have to be at the side of the road, risking death, pretty much. Because some traffic goes there pretty quick, because towards rush hour on that stretch of Utica. So some cars can really go and can really scare some pedestrians who are on bicycle or the dirt, gravel, the stones. It can be really slippery and want to slip, and we're in the road. And we don't want to risk our safety. We would have a sidewalk. I know challenges between the ditches and all that, but straight through, either side is whatever, you don't need both sides. Straight nonstop stretch from 18 all the way to Van Dyke. Because I deal with the pharmacy there at Walgreens for many medications, so when I have to go there on my bicycle, yeah, I'm scared. So, if a sidewalk straight through, even under the bridge, I know that could be an issue, but even under the bridge, there's a really rocky, not really secure type pavement. And I'm sure a lot of pedestrians are really scared to go under the bridge when they have to go down that stretch. So if some kind of sidewalk could be put in nonstop all the way through from 18 all the way to Van Dyke. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, sir. Anyone else under communications? Yes, ma'am.
Mayor Taylor and the council. First off, I'd like to apologize for the previous times I've come up here and I've not recognized you, Mayor, and the council. I do appreciate this council. I do appreciate this body. What I'd like to talk about is the sidewalk situation, and I'd like to continue what the last gentleman said. There was a stretch on 14 Mile that is on the Sterling Heights side that goes across, and it goes to where it's down the road. It ends at the golf, I think, at the, man, I can't believe I can't talk.
Maple?
The golf, yes, at Maple Lane's golf course. And I was just wondering, is there any way to get that sidewalk to go all the way through? Do you have to get the permissions of the people who are there house-wise to put in the sidewalk? Is that what the variance is that you need to get? Because that would make it much safer and much easier for people that if they want to catch the bus, either going east or west, if it was complete. And there are sidewalks. Is any of the sidewalks going to be done along Amsterdam in the second phase? That would be directed at Mr. Vanderpool.
Well, we don't go back and forth at this point, so if you want to just
Well,
make your
I'm
comments.
saying,
I
in
understand.
relation to what Mr. Vanderpool said, that question would be hopefully answered by Mr. Vanderpool with the second part.
Sure.
Because there are broken sidewalks along Amsterdam, from Amsterdam to Irving. I'm sorry, from Irving, Amsterdam, all the way to 15 Mile. There are different, where the sidewalks are like this, and there's different things. And then there's the 15 Mile, where if you're going down 15 Mile, the sidewalk that's over by the apartments, where the two trees stick out into the sidewalk, there's like tilts. And if I'm not careful with this chair, I'm gonna flip over. In fact, I've almost flipped over there. So it's something that needs to be looked at. I mean, if 15 Mile is part of the city, that's something that should get looked at. So that's it.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. Anyone else under this, Mr. Maffa?
If the overhead can come down, we can show it. Perfect. Good evening, Mayor, City Council. My name's Bob Maffa, and I live in Sterling Heights for many years. A couple of things I want to talk about just to start is the sunset law that we have in effect right now and Safe Streets millage. I can talk from here and then I'll show you over there what I'm talking. Back in 2010, we had a millage of 1.9 that I supported. I do support the police and the fire, just to let everybody know. The reason why I did this chart is many residents ask me, what's going on taxes? What's this? What's that? What are we paying now? What is the sunset clause? I explained the sunset clause was put in back in 2013, and it was put in on a promise that it would be ending at 2019. The purpose of a sunset clause is to get the government in order to cut costs and to monitor it with the residents. And one question I have is during those 6 years, if Mayor Taylor can explain to the residents how it was monitored. back in 2016, we had a recreation, and never brought up that this tax was going to be coming due and we needed money for it. It would not sunset. They asked that question. Why? I'll go to the chart just to show you what the chart shows. Basically, I'll talk a little bit more. It shows where my taxes have increased for the 6 years. Your brochure that you put out says that this 8th Street renewal is not a tax increase. That is not correct. If your home appreciates in value, it will go up. It should say a disclaimer that if your home appreciates, your taxes will go up. And I'll show you that. Starts, City of Sterling Heights, property tax increase, Safe Streets, 2.45 mils for 10 years. Residents first, make your vote, your voice. When I emphasize 10 years, right now we have 6 years. So if you look down here, this is the dollar amount. If your home's at assessed X amount, you could be paying $50 a year, 100, 150. I fall in the $200 range. And this range right here, these are the dates that some of the taxes are going to go out to. Actually, 2037, which is way out, and we can't foresee what's going to happen by then. So if you look at 2013, the sunset tax was put in and promised to us that it was going to end at 2019, ending in 2020. It's on I have all my tax statements to show you. So if you look at every year here, I break it down, 13, 14, 15, up to 20. The green is all these tax increases. Those brochures are wrong, and they should be changed. My residents are saying, put a fixed cost in there so I know what my cost is for X amount of years. Not saying you're not going to get a tax increase. That is not true. So this block right here shows that tax increase. The 10 years is this. It's going to go all the way to 2030. I don't have a problem supporting the police, but if you look at, we spent a lot of money on buying property, putting art up. What's more important, the police, the property, or the art? We bought a building across the street for $300,000. What's more important? Next time you spend a penny, say, are the police more important than buying a church across the street? In fact, I'd like to know the status on that. This right here, this is the recreating recreation. That started in 2017, and it's going to end in 2037.
Thank you, Mr. Maffa.
I'd like to speak a little bit more. This is very important. The residents are asking.
You can come back to the next
That's
council
one
meeting.
reason why we need to make a motion to increase it a little
Okay,
bit more for
you can-
residents.
At the next council
It's
meeting.
not right.
Free to talk about that.
It's not right.
Thank you, Mr. Maffa.
I'll be back the rest of the meetings just to let everybody
Okay.
know. So please come and support me.
Thank you, Mr. Maffa.
Thank you.
Anyone else under communications? Mrs. Early?
Good evening, Mayor, City Council members,
You know,
and residents.
Jasmine, you get a little extra time when you speak at the middle table because I don't keep my eye on that.
Oh, thank you. Well, you're making me lose my time, but I'm not
No,
going to
she
be
stopped
too
it.
long. No, you didn't.
Yes, I did.
I started running, but it's okay. You're not going to take too long.
5 or 6 extra seconds. Go ahead.
I'm going to be sure. The reason that I'm here is again to bring up about the approaches. I know one of the council members visited my street. Thank you for that. But still, we are dealing with that issue. I told you that I will visit every street that was in the list. That was a promise. And I am almost done. And I'm still finding up to Saturday that there were houses that didn't have the driveway marked down to be repaired, or there were others where the resident pay for the approach to be done. I believe that, is there a, are you investigating what is going on? Is there a possible legal action against the contractor for accepting and performing this type of job with cash pay only requested, with no proof of receipt, if any receipt where the company did the job? Those driveways, and I left notes for the residents to call, the engineering department. Some of them have been told, well, no, you don't need to do it. What is the criteria to choose which ones are done and which ones are not done? Because I have found the same cases in different streets, and in the same case, you find one was marked down and the other was not. So if the resident is taking the time to call the engineer, they should be taken care of. Those should be marked, those should be repaired. The one that were altered due to the road repairs. This issue is important, Mr. Radke, for the residents to get resolved. This is not about going in Twitter and bad-mouthing me because I'm bringing it up to the public. Because we did it, it's being worked out now. I don't waste my time visiting them. I think it's what you should be doing because you are there sitting, but I'm doing your job, and you get paid for that. In closing, I just want to wish our residents in Sterling Heights a wonderful and safe, patriotic week. Next week, there will be several events around the city celebrating what this country is about and what our city, and thank you, Mr. Vanderpool, for announcing the event on September 11, 8 a.m., is that correct? At the fire station. And there is also, it's gonna be a rally on 17 Mile and Van Dyke to support our president. So I invite the residents to go and be with us. Thank you. Have a nice week.
Okay, thank you very much, Mrs. Early. Anyone else under communications from citizens? If not, I'll close that portion and go on to reports from city administration. Mr. Vanderpool, any follow-up?
Thank you, Mayor. I can respond to a couple of things. First, regarding the sidewalk on 14 Mile Road, when the Maple Lane development is completed, they're supposed to start their site work after the golf season next year, so the 2020 golf season. They will be required to put sidewalk along that section of 14 Mile. So now there are a couple of other minor gaps on 14, but on the south side, there is a complete network of sidewalk, and then when you get to Maple Lane, you could cross. We could have a crossing there, and then you'll be able to get over to actually Maple Lane. Actually, the sidewalk will meander through some of the development. With respect to, there was some comment on the Safe Streets millage. Mr. Maffa was incorrect when he said there was no sunset on the recreating recreation millage, and was also incorrect in stating that it was, or that the Safe Streets is a tax increase. That's simply not accurate. It is a renewal. It's not an increase. The governor's office has to approve the ballot question. They scrutinize it very carefully. The attorney general's office has to approve it, both of whom have already approved it and completely agree with every word in the ballot question, including the fact that it is a renewal. So there is a Headley element to any millage rate, but that amount cannot go up by 2% or the rate of inflation, whichever is less. And since 2008, the average resident in Sterling Heights, because of property value declines, which thankfully now are coming back up, have realized increases far less than what even Headley allows for. In fact, less than 2% on average. So there was also a question about driveway approaches. We have rectified the few instances that Mrs. Early's talking about. All those residents have been contacted. We will be, the contractor will be honoring warranties. They've already been communicated with. We've already explained this in a very detailed fashion via letter and direct communication with all the affected property owners, including Mrs. Early. So I don't think there's any confusion among the property owners who are affected. And this happens very rarely. In almost all cases, the driveway approaches do not have to be removed. In certain cases, because of the grade of the new street, the driveway approach does not line up perfectly with the new street, and thus the approach does have to be taken out, in which case the city does pay that cost. So this doesn't happen often. I would say far less than 10% of all the properties involved, and we've now handled the situation in this particular case. That's all, Mayor. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Vanderpool. Mr. Koszybski?
Yes, Mayor, we have one item for tonight.
Okay, council, any reports?
Mayor Taylor,
Mrs. Schmidt?
just real briefly, just to remind all of our residents that school is back in session. Today was the first official day. Many schools started before the holiday with the exemptions that they received from the state. So just to, respect the traffic laws with the school buses, they say that's the most dangerous part of the child's school day is getting on and off that bus. So let's just be cognizant of the laws and respect those bus drivers and protect our kids. And I have nothing further.
All right, thank you, Mrs. Schmidt. Mr. Radke?
I just want to bring up one brief thing, Mr. Mayor. I travel around a lot, and I was at the Labor Day Parade on Monday, and I was approached by several elected officials from other cities who have come to Dodge Park, who have enjoyed the splash pad with their grandchildren, who have mountain biked our trails, and they were all very, very impressed, and they had very complimentary words for what we're doing. And I wanted to bring attention, it was on the consent agenda, so we really couldn't talk about it, but we're also finishing up, hopefully, our parks program with $1.2 million of our final phase of improvements for 8 neighborhood parks and major parks. I just want to say, this is one of the, I think, one of the best things we've done in the city in a long time. And everywhere I go, we get extreme compliments. People say it's a great job. I want to say every activity with recreation has gone way above anything I expected, including the splash pad, including the skateboarding park. I'm just so impressed, and I want to thank our city administration and our recreation director, Kyle Inglois, for all the great work he's done, and I'm excited to finish up the parks program and move forward. That's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
All right, thank you, Mr. Radke. Anyone else? If not, just in brief response to the resident who asked about the Safe Streets from 2013 and how it's monitored. That money is segregated. It's brought into the city, and it's used specifically for the purpose. Every year we budget that money according to how it's levied, and every year it's audited by Plant Moran, and for every year they've given us a perfect rating, so to speak, in our audit, that it always comes in, it's spent appropriately, and we've never had any issue with that. So the residents who rightfully might have concern about how the city is spending its money and who's monitoring it, it is monitored. It's monitored internally, it's monitored externally, and it's all public information. It's available to view on our city's website. The last several years of our comprehensive audit is on the city's website along with our budget. So that's how all of our taxing and spending is monitored. And there was also a statement about whether this could just be a fixed rate, so people will have some, I guess, understanding of what the amount is going to be every year going forward. So if you know what your property tax, we can't just say you're going to be assessed $100 this year and every year. It's based on Michigan law. There's two factors, essentially, your property value and the millage rate. So your property value can go up, and we hope it goes up, right? Everybody wants their property value to go up. The tax won't. The tax will not go up. If this proposal passes, your millage rate will actually go down a very tiny amount, but it will not go up. So that's, as Mr. Vanderpool said, to be very clear. So if you are looking to budget, you're just going to be essentially paying the exact same thing that you're paying now. And if your property value increases, the increase in your taxes can only go up by the rate of inflation, or 5%, as Mr. Vanderpool said. So whichever is less. So in the last 25 years, I don't think it's ever gone up by 5. Well, in the last 20 years, at least, I'm sure it's not gone up by 5%. Usually goes like 1 to 2% at the most. So if you're looking to budget, you just say, what am I paying now? And then as inflation goes up, that'll be what you're paying the next year. So maybe, on a $100,000 house, you might be paying $1 or $2 more than you paid the previous year because of the increase in your taxable value, but the rate is staying the same. So I just want to clarify that, and thank you to all the residents who spoke today. So with that, I would entertain a motion to adjourn into closed session.
So moved. Support.
It's been moved and supported. Can we please have a roll call vote?
Mr. Radke,
Yes.
Mrs. Schmidt,
Yes.
Mrs. Sarowski, Mr. Taylor,
Yes.
Mr. Yanez,
Yes.
Zarko.
Yes.
Kosky.
Yes.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Riska. The motion carries 6-0. We are going to adjourn into closed session, and we may be returning. Calling this meeting back to order. Mrs. Schmidt.
Resolved to authorize the city attorney to pursue all available remedies to abate the nuisance conditions and code violations existing at 8160 Independence Drive.
Support.
It's been moved and supported. Is there any discussion? No discussion. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved. Support.
It's been moved and supported with no discussion. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. This meeting is adjourned.